Omo like this, wahala. First of all, if you be person where be say you know they like to hear truth, this video no concern you. Just they scroll, they go. But if you know say you be person where believe in the truth and nothing but the truth, just sit down, relax, and watch this video where I won't show you so because like this, so the truth don't finally come out. And when you watch this video, yourself you go shock. Former governor of Bauchi State now, don't come and I don't expose everybody. You got no hide back anything. If I can't this video on top of this video, when I hear me, I all weak. Bay! But guy they talk. Fact, I don't want you to talk too much. Just watch the video by yourself. I beg us to watch and not forget to share and make it reach everybody, including all those Agbado people. Where they feel say anything concerning truth, they don't like to hear. I mean they hear this one by fire by force. When I watch the video.
Maybe I will start with the issue of subsidy first. This has been a very, very serious issue, or issue that has been so much talked of. And it was maybe a motion without movement. It was just a talk show, and then, government didn't have the political will to address the problem. I was privileged to serve as the chairman of the subcommittee 2008 and 2009 under the economic meltdown. I was one of the members, 3 of us governors and some other members with Mr. President as chairman. So I chaired the committee on subsidy and everything about the subsidy regime, and then the scam in the subsidy regime was discovered by my committee. And of course, since then, recommendations were made, which unfortunately were never implemented, and it's very sad. I'm sad to let Nigerians know that from what I saw, we came across situations where subsidy was claimed on pipelines that never existed. You just claim that I would have pumped X amount of, either finished products or crude, maybe from Kaduna, from Wari to Kaduna.
NNPC? Making this claim?
Of course, who else is doing it?
Oh dear.
Those that pump and those that are in the subsidy scam, they just fill papers, invoices, and they claim subsidy on it. In fact, there was an instance of a pipeline that was supposed to exist between Lagos and Wari. And tons of monies were collected on subsidy on a pipeline that never existed. This is Nigeria for you.
But I thought they were telling us that it is marketers and some other persons who are perpetrating the fraud. So NNPC is involved.
They are all involved in these things, all of them. All of them. And I must sadly also report that, you see, Nigeria subsidy, if it's that part of it that is actually goes for the subsidy, we go on subsidizing sub-Saharan Africa and Central Africa, because the bulk of these products are smuggled out of this country. Then who is subsidizing who?
Wait, that report that you spoke about NNPC, all of them being involved, was it submitted to the government?
Of course it was.
Government knows about this?
Of course, yes, they do. And attempts were made, but I'm telling you, it can be very frustrating in Nigeria to implement policies, especially where there are interests and a cabal that exists. It's just similar to what you have as this bunkering issue. It's something not, it can be stopped, but you can't stop it. It can be stopped, but the political will to stop it is not there. There are so many interests that are involved there. And that's what is leading Nigeria to where we are today. That at a point in time during the Jonathan regime, I know we hardly were pumping up to 1 million barrels a day. And the prices kept crashing. Then how do you manage the economy that is dependent on oil? So the subsidy regime, like I said, should have gone way back in 2012, 2013. Should have gone. Any person that is shouting subsidies are going to affect that, is affected this, is a selfish person. A person who is connected to the scammers that are killing this country.
What you've said is very shocking to a lot of Nigerians. Much as you say you are sad to tell, but yes, it's important that Nigerians know. And that means that all this while, the previous government and previous governments have been lying to Nigerians about this subsidy matter.
I think so. They didn't have the political will to take the decisions to remove it. All this, they say, IMF is pushing us, IMF is that, World Bank is... That is not the issue. In fact, I have one of my friends who is in the oil industry. We traveled to China with him, one of the presidents of Nigeria. He told me, my brother, because we were discussing the subsidy issue, say, I'm a member of the economic team of Mr. President. Mm-hmm. And when I went for a meeting, I told him, Mr. President, I called him by the side. I said, Mr. President, please remove this subsidy. He said, we are tired of making money. What? Yes, I'm telling you to God Almighty. He said, we are tired of making money, Mr. President. Remove this subsidy. Because he is a patriot, and he's seen the scams that are going on there. Goodness. And he told me, he's alive today.
You talked about the recommendations that were made. The recommendations made in that report. Mm-hmm. What were the recommendations?
Well, the recommendation was to remove the subsidy. And some steps to address some of the problems associated to, making the product, expensive as it even lands. At a point in time, that time, ships would line up, over 60, 70 ships, lining up in the high sea, trying to come in to dock and then discharge in Atlas Cove, the fuels. They spend an average of 2-3 months. And we pay demurrage. The country pays close to about $100 to $150 million every month. In the report, we suggested that there should be a floating barge, maybe that can carry fuel, up to maybe 4, 5, or 10, or even 20 ships. We can have a floating barge that can store that. And then we have barges coming to pick and then discharge at Atlas Cove. He said no, because people are making money out of it. So I believe we have seen, God works wonderfully. We have seen a solution in a president that can do it. He can really do it because he knows the problems and he knows the solutions. And he's been a businessman. So, and he's from the commercial center of Nigeria. And he made Lagos what it is today as a medium-income economy. So he knows he knows all the crooks in the country.
Help us understand this a little bit more. Won't your friend then say that they were tired of making money, understanding the scam? So did they tell you, why didn't the president go ahead and remove it? Because if he had that first-hand information, he should have acted, the former president.
I'm sorry, my brother. The president may not have done it because of the entrenched interest. It could even be at the risk of his life. But at least the president of Nigeria is adequately protected. If I were him, I would have beaten the bullet and taken the decision. So let hell fall, because the poor man out there is suffering and dying of hunger. Yeah, and we are busy feeding on them in collaboration with foreigners.
But at the risk of his life may not be tenable because he's very well protected as president.
Yes, so I'm just wondering. Probably, the whole thing was maybe shrouded in something very cloudy that you cannot understand. Because why are you a worker? Why are you? You are there to take decisions on a daily basis. And this decision can be right or wrong. You have the right to take those decisions. And you see a good decision, you'll be afraid of it. Leaving the question of removing this devaluation. At the point in time when we didn't have enough, revenue coming in, we had that Paris Club, that during the Jonathan's time. We urged him to devalue so that more money can come into the system and fund, debts that we have locally so that the economy can move. But you are owing. You have a means of payment, you are saying, no, you will not take the decision. These are the kind of traps that we find ourselves.
We'll also talk about that bit, but just a little more on this subsidy, because I think my colleagues still have some questions on that subsidy before we come to the financial sector. So wouldn't it be appropriate for this president, this government, to then say, look, haven't seen the kind of mess, because if you use the word rotten for the financial sector, I wonder what he will say about the subsidy regime, because he will know a thing or two about it. Should he then say, look, it doesn't matter whether we're on the same party or not. We have to probe deep into this. And all of those who are found guilty, you have to face the music.
That would have been very excellent. But I must say, with all sense of decency, those involved, I believe, should not go free. Because there is no how a country like Nigeria, over 200 million people, you have close to about 90% under the poverty line. You cannot explain it. When one person is owning yachts all over the world and keeping all sorts of rubbish outside Nigeria, feeding fat on the death of our people, hunger of our people sleeping with their children without food, no conscience whatsoever. And I want to assure you that Presently, what we have is the structure of the economy. You can hear the president talking about the economy and, of course, the challenges in the economy. Now, last year, my colleague, Mr. Kabwezi, who was my ED in NAB, and I handed over to him when I was appointed minister, the DG budget, he alluded to the fact in a seminar workshop, sometimes last year, said that 97% of our monthly revenue is dedicated to debt service.
97%.
And what does that translate to? Do Nigerians know the meaning of that? It means that you have only 3% of your revenue to service government activities, recurrent and capital expenditures. So, but the point I'm trying to make is that today, what other alternatives is left for Tinubu to run Nigerian economy? Apart from the fact that this, what do you call it, the palliatives that we're talking about. And of course, the subsidy regime that we're talking about, the mere fact that it's a scam itself is enough to remove it. But then now the challenge is, where is he going to get the money?
So let's just
to fund government.
Let's go back a little bit,
yeah.
Still on this subsidy thing. I know that some of the recommendations that had been made were that the refineries should work. At one time, the refineries were even privatized, and that was reversed at the same time. Yet, more money is going there to, what do you call it, turnaround maintenance of the refineries. What's the situation in that angle? Now that the subsidy is even out, would that even be looked at all?
Well, as far as we are concerned, we were part of the government. We saw how, contracts were awarded for the turnaround of, the refineries, and all sorts of investment in pipelines. And so it's just a question of who is doing what and where are the deliverables after having paid the monies. Where are the refineries? Nigerians are not even asking questions. And there was, to my knowledge, there is no refinery that was ever turned around and it did work. Even if it did, maybe it didn't work for more than 2 or 3 months and it went down again.
Even with all the billions that were put for turnaround maintenance?
Yes, exactly. If you are doing that, where there are refineries today? How many times have you heard of Warri refinery turnaround?
Oh dear.
How many times have you heard of Kaduna refinery turnaround? In the first instance, why should they die? I have a Mercedes car I bought when I was a very young boy after I finishing university, way back in 1982. I bought a Mercedes 200, Kumbo. It's still there. The engine is never opened. I've just always changed engine oil and I'm still driving the car. Which means that if these refineries were maintained, nothing will stop it nothing will stop them from working up till now. But where are they today?
Let's bring in our colleagues in Lagos.
And that is even responsible for all these massive imports of finished products to come and finish our country. And they have no heart. They have no heart. These people they are just heartless.
Go ahead, guys.
I've heard that expression, subsidies is scam, time and again. A former president, before he came in, had said it is a scam, but he came in and seemed to uphold and even, hold on to that scam for the length and tenure of 2 terms, only leaving the final removal to the incoming administration, which has now been done. Labour has also said subsidy is a scam, but during the period when subsidy was at least full-blown, some say there's still subsidy anyway, it's just not removed totally. But during that period, people could still go to buy petrol for lesser than the amount they're buying it now. So help Nigerians understand that statement, subsidy is a scam. At what point is it a scam? Because there are different people involved. There's government, there's the Ministry of Petroleum, there's NNPC, there's marketers, retailers, and all of that. At what point is subsidy really a scam? Let's demystify this expression if we can.
Well,
yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, by ordinary English definition of a scam, me and you precisely know what it is all about. It's a fraud. Somebody is being shortchanged, and diversions from of money that is meant for an activity is not meant for that activity. So, like I said earlier, we are subsidizing Sub-Saharan Africa. So we are bringing in this fuel as an elevated cost and then half of it is exported out by the same group that are supposed to keep this fuel in Nigeria. Is that not a scam? Is that patriotism? Are the people doing their job? Are the customs doing their job? Are other agency security agencies that are supposed to keep our borders, closed and sanction those who are smuggling our products outside the country doing their job? Now, secondly, I told you that when I chaired that committee on subsidy, which uncovered the scam in Nigeria, we found out that subsidy was claimed on pipelines that never existed. In fact, forms are just filled, invoices are just filled and sent to NPC, and subsidies are paid. And to who are they paid? To the marketers. Because you must be an insider to be involved in this thing. Is that not a scam? Now, we are enjoying. Yes, we know we use petrol and gas, to drive our mobiles up and down, up and down. Now, if you look at the population of the country, yes, we appreciate that we must use what is the ratio of those car owners to non-car owners in Nigeria. So is it worth for us, we car owners, to be subsidized while the poor man on the street has nothing to be, no subsidy for him? Because if you say maybe it will translate to reduced transportation costs, I don't think that is the story. So we can go on and on to confirm and prove beyond reasonable doubt that the whole thing is a scam. And it can be sustainable. If, for instance, Saudi, who is producing maybe 10, 15 times more than Nigeria, the local consumer is consuming his own maybe 1 liter, maybe for about $1, or even slightly more than that. And you here in Nigeria, we are consuming it for, I think you are just living in a kind of trance. You are not facing realities.
Right, so quick follow-up.
So these are the situations that, of course, makes it...
Pardon me, quick follow-up. Just, the point has been made, but just to reiterate it and hopefully get a proper handle on it. So 8 years of a government. Yet the Jonathan administration tried to remove subsidy 2012. It was met with lots of criticism, protests. The government had to step back. And you are the chairman of the board of trustees of the APC Professionals Forum. It's essentially like a think tank of professionals in Nigeria's ruling party. It's been in power for over 8 years. So seeing that subsidy scam persist, year 1, year 2, year 3, up until year 8, why didn't we see, I don't know, major protests? Why weren't issues raised to the government in power, which was headed by your party, that we cannot continue with this scam? It has to stop now, except we're saying that we saw clear injustice, clear scam going on, and we allowed it.
Well, can I go ahead?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, we have seen that situation. And unfortunately, you call a spade a spade. We didn't have the political will to remove the subsidy. And besides then, maybe the environment was even a little bit more friendly. That is to say, the Paris Club funds were there. Government was went borrowing and trying to, imagining that it could be possible for them to sustain the economy in that manner, knowing that maybe they are heading for a crash. And of course, the situation now is completely different. You have a situation where, like I said earlier, we don't have money to pay our debts. We're in a debt-trapped situation. If you have 97% of your revenue, even the Minister of Finance said it, going for debt service, then where else? Who else is going to give you money to run the government? So this is the time, as a matter of necessity. There is no any other way that Mr. President will look for, other than looking at this means of increasing the revenue of government through removing the subsidy and bringing in some pain-relieving measures, which could be possible. And at the same time, if Mr. President can have the will to go after all those government officials that were responsible for all these hemorrhages, let them bring back 70–80% of what they have taken out of Nigeria and let them bring the balance back into the treasury of Nigeria so that Nigeria can work. Otherwise, I don't see him, will he continue printing money that the way they've been doing, MFL has been doing, makes and means, always quantitative easing, printing money, left, right, and center, increasing borrowings? It's not possible. Well, government cannot continue to borrow from the central bank to fund activities. It's not possible. There's a limit to which you can borrow.
Well, you just went to the very question that I was just about to ask you, sir. I mean, there are those who have been asking that, the federal government, this current administration, should probe this subsidy regime. It didn't seem to become a problem until the Jonathan administration, when it really got to a head. I don't recall if ever there was a time that the Obasanjo government made an issue of the fuel subsidy regime, and if it did, maybe not as prominent as it became under the Jonathan government at the time. If you can help us understand, for how long would you say this scam, as we call it, has existed? And you've said now that questions should be asked. Since no one is mentioning names, and no one is willing to come out and say, I was part of this scam, how do you suggest that the government should go about probing, if you agree, the fuel subsidy regime? Otherwise, how will we collect the money, from them, as you are proposing?
Well, you can be rest assured that there is no information that can be hidden. Nobody can hide information as long as it's something that has to do with a formal, structured organization, unless otherwise records are destroyed. But if we have a committee, a very high-powered committee, that can engage some very good accountants who can do some forensic auditing on most of these institutions, the truth will come out. And like you say, at what point? I'm talking now, how many years since I headed that committee that uncovered the oil subsidy scam? Since 2009, 2008, 2009. You can imagine the number of years now. So, but even before then, I served in Abbas government, Obasanjo's government, as minister, in the Ministry of Transport, and also in the Ministry of Aviation. That time too, the scam was on. But like I said, the effects, in fact, it has not matured to the level that it had matured now, where instead of maybe making a deal, getting $10 million, maybe they're getting $100 million. So it continued graduating, growing up to where they have to bring us down to our knees now, where we don't have revenue. So it is something that once there is that political will to do something in Nigeria, I assure you it can happen, unless if you don't want it to happen. But there is nothing under the earth that can, that cannot be investigated, and then the results uncovered. I have done it several times. I've heard so many investigative committees as a banker, as a minister.